Ava loved it. It was as if someone had conjured an Edith Wharton novel all around her. A magnificent setting in which she could be the star, the main character in all of her novelistic daydreaming. Here, beneath the chandeliers, surrounded by the dim glow of sumptuous, slightly frayed interiors, she never saw anyone her own age and was more than content to chat with the old ladies about fountain pens and light operettas and third-rate Victorian detective stories, while managing to ignore their more egregiously antiquated opinions. Ava took a quick sip from the bottle of cheap port in her top drawer and hiccuped, the goofy pop echoing loudly in the empty room. Drinking alone always made her maudlin, but today she had good reason to be sad. It was her 25th birthday, and this felt like a crisis. Having always thought of herself as an ingenue, the winsome young Estella character in Great Expectations, she was now having to consider she might be curdling into Miss Havisham. At what age did being a virgin cease to be cute and start to become ridiculous? 25 was too old. An invisible line had been crossed. She was past her prime, an expired commodity, and it made her feel a little desperate. She had had that last chance 2 years ago, at the going-away party for her best and only friend, Stephanie. After college graduation, Stephanie had convinced Ava to move with her to New York, where everything important was happening, only to abruptly decide to leave town, and Ava a year later. Ava had tried to convince her that the International Model Agency, offering her representation and based in Kiev, was surely a scam. But such was Stephanie's fearless commitment to her path, the blazing and often confusing trajectory that was going to lead her to an ill-defined stardom, that Ava hadn't been able to talk her out of it. She had never been very good at arguing with Stephanie. Among the packed-up boxes of their shared apartment, Stephanie had pushed Ava and a very drunk bartender of her acquaintance into the tiny windowless closet that had been Ava's bedroom. "Here, he loves books. You guys talk about literature." Soon Stephanie wouldn't be around to engineer these kinds of situations, and, worried that this might be her last chance, Ava had tried to enjoy his sweaty hands under her shirt while he mumbled something about The Catcher in the Rye. But thinking of Stephanie's imminent departure, tears kept rolling down Ava's face and falling into the crest of this stranger's dark, greasy hair. Silent weeping would have probably even been fine, but no one can have sex with a girl who is crying the wet, snotty wail of true abandonment. And so that evening her virtue had remained intact, and had these past 2 lonely years. The waxed hallway floor creaked, and Ava quickly hid her bottle as the Honorable Lazarus Club president, Aloysius Wendell Wilder III, shuffled into the room. Pink-cheeked and boyish despite his 70 years, his hair fluttered around his head, a stark and unnatural shade of black that wandered onto his forehead and made him look like he had been carelessly dipped in ink. He lived in rooms at the back of the club and never seemed to leave the premises. Ava liked him because he had hired her without any qualifications. She had been standing on the sidewalk, gazing up at the awning and the cryptic insignia of its wrought iron doors, amazed that such places could still exist. It seemed to have just sprung from the pages of books she loved so much. Lurking in the foyer and sensing a kindred spirit, Aloysius had swept her in through the doors like a hawk retrieving its young and hired her to manage their books for an absurdly low salary. But because his offer included a tiny rent-free apartment in the back of the club, exactly the safe haven she had been looking for since being tossed roommateless into the storm of New York, she'd gratefully accepted. She'd moved in with her cat, Mycroft, determined to finally write her novel, and since then had hardly left the premises either, another source of kinship with the club president. Aloysius fingered a small cherub on the mantelpiece, then slipped it back into the pocket of his navy blazer. He liked to rearrange things. "You like dogs," he said in a sudden, accusatory mid-Atlantic bray. That morning in the hallway they had been discussing Persian cats, but Ava nodded politely.